Pictures up.
Pictures up.
Pictures up. Let's roll sound. Rolling.
Rolling.
Sound speed.
Camera speed. 2. Awesome. Take 2.
Hello. And action.
Hi there, and welcome into Meet Me in the Movies Open Dialogue. This is Thomas Manning. The conversation I'm sharing today is with the filmmakers behind The Exorcism. I'm talking with director Joshua John Miller and screenwriter M.A. Fortin. The two are life partners and have worked together as filmmakers for quite some time now. The Exorcism stars Russell Crowe, and it's very meta in many regards. There's a film within a film, there's a haunted set. I really enjoy breaking down all of that and a lot more with Josh and Mark. Thank you all for watching and listening, and thanks to Josh and Mark for a really, really fun conversation. And they kind of took it in their own directions a few times and had conversations amongst themselves, which I just kind of love when that happens organically. So yeah, thanks again, Josh and Mark, and thank you all for watching and listening as we speak about The Exorcism in theaters now. Josh, Mark, it's great to meet the two of you.
Hi,
Hello.
hi, Thomas. It's good to meet you too. How are you?
Yeah, I'm wonderful. I appreciate your time and excited to be talking about The Exorcism. And I can get right to it if y'all are good to go.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
We're in our car parked.
Yeah. So, this is a movie about making movies. There's obviously a lot of other stuff going on, but that's kind of the shell for the film. So I'd love to talk a little bit about the process of coming up with terrible things that can go wrong on a film set, and then, inserting that into the fictional film set within this film. I imagine that that's an experience that reaches you on a very visceral level, and you're seeing some of your worst fears realized in a way. Is that something that y'all can speak to and just finding a way to play around with that in this film?
I think a lot of the movie, weirdly enough, was inspired by a really bad production experience we had X amount of years ago. And it was really kind of horrifying, not in the demonic sense, but that people were not in a haunted demonic sense, but that people were acting demonic. So I think like it sort of inspired this movie in a lot of ways. But we also obviously leaned into some of the mythology surrounding Exorcist. I won't give away those. I'm assuming if this comes out after the movie, I guess that's one thing. If it doesn't, then I don't want to give away anything. But there are certain elements of stuff that happens in the movie that if you're a deep dive Exorcist maniac, you will know that there are elements in the movie that are things that kind of happened on the set of The Exorcist. But I don't want to say anything because, let's not ruin it for people and let them do the research.
Course, of course. And y'all are working with Kevin Williamson as a producer. He's a legend of the horror movie industry of the last nearly
Yeah.
30 years or so, going back to the original Scream. So can you share a bit about, having his guidance on this project and what it meant to have him in your corner for this film?
Well, when we first look, I've always been a huge fan of Scream, but more than anything, I was actually a little bit more of a fan of the man behind the movie because as a queer person, seeing someone so openly queer in the business, even early on, before it was sort of, I mean, look, even today, it's not as open as people make it out to be. People are still probably closeted.
You have a lot of corporations who love to get all rainbowy during Pride Month, and you can't open Paramount Plus or Netflix without being, without them acting like, it's just an onslaught. But I don't know. I don't feel
it's still a business run by bros and tech bros, which is like the worst combination. But I think ultimately having him be a champion of our work, he was a big fan of this movie that we did called The Final Girls, and he was really obsessed with it and championed it and felt like he wanted to help it get a larger audience and help us sort of find our voices in a larger way. And that was really cool because, like I said, what he meant to I think to both of us as young film goers in the 90s was he was a bit of an idol and made some iconic films. So to get him to support us was really made us feel confident. And I think when you're making a movie you need to have delusions of grandeur, even if you have no talent. And you just got to keep going no matter what. And I definitely, like in the early process of making this movie, we felt a tremendous amount of support from him.
Yeah, and I'm a lifelong North Carolinian, so thanks for bringing the film industry to our state, and hope you enjoyed your time
Oh, of
shooting in
course.
Wilmington.
Oh, yeah.
It was our pleasure. The crews at Screen Gems were so amazing.
This was a hard shoot, and I think the love of the crew and their determination and passion and hard work, I think I mean, this sounds like, some PR line,
I know
but
it sounds so canned.
but the truth is that these people were too good for this movie. Because here we were coming from Hollywood, and you know,
We were like, here's our daddy issues horror movie.
yeah.
Like, yeah.
And your director of photography on this film is Simon Duggan. I love his work here and in a lot of other films. Recently in Furiosa, of course, working with George Miller.
Yeah.
So Joshua, going back to this element of having a film set within the film, what were some of the key details of those conversations with Simon as you work to create the visual language for basically two films in one here?
I think the idea was to make the film set feel like it's a living organism, especially the dollhouse, and to really center that as a character in the movie and to really light it with the right lighting, not to just have this structure sort of sitting there, but to give it this almost omnipresent force and to feel like it's enchanting so that you feel like it's alive. I think that was sort of something we wanted to do from the beginning. I think when we saw the first images of the bisected set was from a production still from the Diary of Anne Frank, and they had recreated the entire 3 stories all the way up to the attic. And I remember seeing that as a kid and going, that is the most beautiful image and such a great way to synthesize sort of the magic of recreating life. And so that was always sort of our North Star, making sure that structure and that space was built, both the full dollhouse, as we call it, and then the smaller set for the Exorcism within the movie. And those things were always like, let's really create these as enchanting, strange spaces to enter. And I think we were definitely very much focused on not making the film so many movies now feel Netflixed. There's just the digital sheen, and everything is kind of feels somewhat bright and safe. And I think we were really interested, and that this was, a dialogue we had a lot with the studio about making things feel in the dark and making things feel in the shadows and making things, I don't know, not to sound too self-important, it's a horror film after all, but it's really also a psychological drama, which is what we really feel it is. And I think with that, we wanted to lean into things feeling emotionally fraught, and for the visual language of the movie to reflect the kind of abyss that Russell is slowly descending into. So as the movie starts, it kind of is a bit warmer, the colors are warmer, and then it just begins to become more desaturated and light, and the blood starts to seep out of it, and we return to this weird sort of in limbo possession state,
Right,
like a
right.
cadaver.
And you have Adam Goldberg in this film, who is playing a director. He's got quite the on-set persona, to say the least. So I bet there was a certain amount of fun in developing that character as directors yourselves, and I assume there was some direct inspiration from things you've all seen in the film industry with that type of character. Am I correct in assuming that?
No
Oh
comment.
no,
No comment.
everyone in Hollywood is kind.
Everyone is nice.
It's the kindest, it really is an exciting business.
Yeah.
I say that in air quotes. That was a quote from Valley of the Dolls. Sharon Tate says that.
No.
No, it's not Sharon Tate.
No, it's Barbara Parkins.
Sorry, it's Barbara Parkins, but it's Valley of the Dolls.
It is indeed Valley of the Dolls.
If you don't think we're gay, now you know for
now
sure.
the secret's out.
Quoting Valley of the Dolls might be the gayest thing I've ever done in an interview.
In an interview, yeah.
It's officially happened. It's Pride Month. Let's gay up the joint.
Yeah. That's right. This movie does have a queer subtext, and it's coming out during Pride Month.
I mean, it's not so much a subtext.
No, no, exactly. It's true. It's not a subtext. I guess it's just.
Or maybe Russell is gay in the movie.
Oh no. No.
No?
That I don't buy.
Okay.
I don't buy that.
But he doesn't ever talk about women, though. I find that interesting.
I mean, he does have his.
We've never had this conversation. Is Anthony gay? His daughter's queer, obviously. Yeah. I don't know.
I can't tell y'all how much I love that y'all are having this conversation right here with me. So I'm counting it as an honor to be listening into this.
Should we talk about his Russell Crowe's character?
You know what? Let's turn it over to your listeners. Caller
number one.
listening.
Yes. Hi. Do you think Russell? Well, they haven't seen it yet, so
No,
we've had to
exactly,
do,
but-
well, anyway.
Oh my goodness!
Sound off in the
Did
comments.
you go to the screening in Wilmington?
No, I live on the other side of the state
darn.
actually. So yeah, I just watched an online screener of it. Unfortunately, haven't seen it. No, on a big screen yet, but hopefully I'll get a chance to. I think it is coming to some theaters around me. So yeah,
Great.
I think it's opening everywhere on Friday.
yeah.
That's what I hear. Before A Quiet Place tries to kill us
Before A Quiet Place comes in
the next weekend. So our movie will exist for like 7 days.
7 days,
And then Quiet Place will come in and just like
it'll be like, sorry, bitch.
Bye.
Oh man. Well, I do have a few Russell Crowe centric questions for y'all.
Sure.
And so there's a few scenes where you set up a shot and you capture Russell's face through the slats of a confessional booth. And Russell has those incredible blue eyes and he can communicate so much with just a glance. So was that a pretty simple process of figuring out how you wanted to frame and light those shots and capture the story of his eyes, or did you kind of feel the pressure of, this is Russell Crowe and we got to figure out, different ways to kind of illuminate him in ways that we haven't seen before?
I think with Russell, you always feel there's a certain level of, because he has such an esteemed body of work and he looms so large in the culture and in film and films I loved growing up, that you come to set, realizing you better be on your game.
He is kind of his own special effect because that humanity, you turn a camera on him and like that humanity that, and especially in this movie, which I feel like there was more of than in a lot of previous work, a certain level of vulnerability. It just pops out. It's crazy.
But I think ultimately he is, he wants, but one of the things I really learned, and I haven't thought about this in a while, but it's really important, is he's a craftsman and he's very much about the micro details and about really, he sees film as a mosaic and even more granular than that. And he, as always, was encouraging Mark and I as collaborators on this movie to always never go past any detail that we felt wasn't right. Just keep going and keep kind of being difficult to make sure that every T is crossed and every I is dotted, and not like finish a take and say print without actually really, if you had like 10% of like, well, we could maybe move the camera a little to the left and that might give us a little more of an interesting frame. He'll say, do that. Even if it's just 10% of a problem in that take, redo the shot. Which, in terms of producerial issues, that doesn't make us quite, popular among the studio, but
yeah,
it does.
Their notes were always faster. It's like just so faster.
Yeah, and I think, so Russell was very much, encouraged us to be as artistic as we could possibly do within the guardrails that had been set up.
Yep.
So I'm very grateful for that, and I plan to take a lot of those lessons with me moving forward into the next project.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's also this basically a mold of Russell's face that we see, and kind of like a Mission Impossible style mask. What can you share about the creation of that? Was that a practical thing? Is that a prop that's out there somewhere?
It is it was created, and it had a bigger it had a bigger life potentially in the movie, but we never got to do that. We were kind of shut down for our additional shoots during pandemic, so we never got to sort of address certain things, and so we just had to work around it. But there was an original story for that particular shot that would be developed later, especially that whole sequence. But unfortunately, blame nature.
Yep.
Or people that are tearing down forests and creating potential future dangerous pathogens.
Yeah, those always get you.
Blame the climate crisis.
You can blame a lot on that for sure. So
If you really dissect it and unpack it, you probably can actually, and that's what's scary. But no, we'd rather talk about the Kardashians.
I mean, I wouldn't, but some people would. So
Oh, don't get me wrong. I've turned them on at like 1 a.m, and it's sort of like, am I going to have a cigarette or am I going to watch the Kardashians? Like, what's worse for my health? And
oh
it's like,
man.
black lung or Kim Kardashian. And these are questions I think about sometimes late at night.
Yeah, the things that keep us up, there's always something. So
But that said, I don't want to just be reductive about her. She's also pretty cool in what she's created. So, like any kind of supervillain or complex character, they have good sides and they have sides that are like questionable, right?
that is true. And yeah, I know we got to wrap up here in just a minute, but I'll get
Kim
y'all.
Kardashian. Someone
Well,
I did not expect to talk about.
this has been so much fun. I'll
Good.
get y'all out of here on one more question, somewhat related to
Yeah.
the film, and talking about more about Russell Crowe. What is for each of you? What is your favorite Russell Crowe film? Of course, other than this one.
I know what Mark's is, but my favorite, well, I don't have a favorite per se because I loved him in a lot of stuff, but I felt him in LA Confidential, which is one of my favorite movies. He was so incredibly vulnerable at moments in that movie, especially when he talks about what had happened to him in his childhood, what makes Bud White, is that his character's name?
Mm-hmm.
So kind of traumatized what had happened to him in his childhood and how he's always sort of trying to, kind of rewrite history by trying to save other people and create justice. And I just thought it was beautiful. And the tears in his eyes when he told that story about his childhood tied to a radiator. That and I think Beautiful Mind, maybe, because I mean, I could go down the list. He's kind of been impeccable in everything he's done. I haven't seen a lot of his recent movies like The Pope's Exorcist, which I'm just not into exorcism movies, believe it or not, even though we kind of made one, although I don't think it's really an exorcism movie in the conventional sense.
I would say Romper Stomper. I think
never
that was the
seen.
first time I ever saw him. I remember renting it at a video store and being like, "Holy shit!" He's amazing in that movie. It's a rough watch, but he's so magnetic. He has there's so many notes in what he does, and he's when you got it, you got it.
What's the movie he did, like a romance with Ridley Scott, and like is he in Under the Tuscan Sun? Is that him? No, that's Diane Lane. But he's in some
Under the
kind
Tuscan Sun with Russell and Diane Lane's role, though.
No, but I feel like he's in one of those. I'm in a vineyard. And we're falling in
it
love.
was Ridley Scott. It was called A Good Year, but I did not see that.
He's in that, right?
I'm pretty sure.
He's done like the vineyard subgenre,
Yes,
the midlife vineyard romance.
I have not seen it. I can't comment.
That's a subgenre. I guess I would call that like a sub horror genre.
About like the wine mom, wine dad subgenre.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, Josh and Mark, I can't thank you enough for such a fun time today, and congrats on the film, and hopefully
Thank
hopefully
you.
the release goes well, and hopefully we both share more conversations in the future.
Thanks, man.
Thanks so much.
All right, guys, pictures up.
Pictures up.
Pictures up. That's roll sound. Rolling.
Rolling.
Sound speed.
Camera speed. Awesome. Take two. Mark.
And action.